The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, the country's latest homicide took place just a short while ago. We are live in Golden Gates in just a minute. Tonight, the police also admitting defeat. Or are they? They are cautioning the public to expect more killings after yesterday's triple shooting. And it's just 1 week until the U.S. elections. Tonight, we take a look at which party's policy is best suited for the Bahamas. Now, we are going to go to that live news conference right now in Golden Gates, the country's latest homicide.
Good evening, Bahamas. What we do know is that sometime after 5 o'clock p.m., police control room received information of two males involved in an altercation at a residence here at Mutton Fish Drive off Malcolm Road. Officers responded. Upon their arrival, they met a male suffering from lacerations to the neck. Officers then went on the interior of the residence, where they met a male lying lifeless in the front room area. Based on information gathered here at the scene, we do know that two males, they are related. Information is thus far is that both males were involved in an altercation which turned physical. A cutlass was introduced. One of the males was chopped about the body. And as a result, a fight ensued, physical. One of the males, he was found lifeless on the inside of that residence. Now, we are conducting inquiries into this matter. Thus far, we have spoken to several persons trying to gather information, and we will now await the pending autopsy reference to the male that is found lying lifeless. That is the information we have thus far reference to this incident.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Evans. Do you have any questions for Assistant Commissioner Shabbat Williams? If you don't, then this concludes this evening's press briefing. Thank you so much, members of the press.
Come to me. Oh. Good evening, Shanique. Now, as you would have heard just now from Police Officer Shamal Evans, we would have just had a press briefing where he would have noted that two brothers-in-laws got into a domestic dispute turned fatal. He noted that a cutlass was used by one of the brothers who had chopped the other brother allegedly, and he noted that they found the lifeless body of a male inside the residence right behind me. Now, we will stand by on location as we await more details as police are continuing their investigations. The body was just removed from the scene, and we're here. We will await more details, as I would have stated. Stay tuned to our digital platforms, and for now, I'm Linton Ritchie Jr. reporting live, sending it back to the desk, Shanique.
Wow, that's Linton Ritchie live in the Golden Gates area on Mutton Fish Drive. Right now, you heard the police talk about the latest homicide involving, believed to be between two brothers-in-law. They had a dispute and it ended fatally. Just very troubling. Well, tonight, we're going to begin right there, discussing what has gone wrong. I know a pastor, and this went viral since Sunday, but it was Pastor Aquino Monca says that he feels that there is something over this country. What is that something when three men were killed last evening or yesterday evening in the Foxhill area? We are going to get into this discussion this evening because it really is quite troubling to hear that. That just took place just about an hour or two ago. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, our contributors Michael Turnquest and Glenroy Pratt. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you.
Good evening, Bahamas. Good evening, Shanique. Pleasure to be here.
Good evening, Bahamas, and good evening, Shanique.
Gentlemen, that is quite troubling to see. I mean, there's so many things we've heard over and over again about learning how to resolve conflicts in a different manner rather than resorting to violence. But this is now 103 homicides for the year. This is nothing the Bahamas needs or even want to even think about right now when you think about trying to restore law and order on our streets, in our communities, in our homes. Glenroy, your thoughts about what we are hearing play out on Muttonfish Drive right now?
Well, I mean, based on, it seems to be a domestic matter, and it's just sad, you know. I mean, and all the details obviously aren't out as yet, but the continuation of bloodshed in this country is alarming. It's certainly something that it's impacting many families, and you know, the sad part about it, when you look at the majority of these murdered victims, most of them are men. And when you add the fact that the persons perpetrating or committing the crime is a male, or males involved, we have a double whammy, as it were, where people are going to jail 2 and 3 a time, and then you have persons being killed. I would say, and I've been saying this for a while, you know, over the last 13 or 14 years, I would say we've had over 1,500 young men have been killed in this country in that period of time. And it's certainly something that we need to take a look at. But we can't take the kind of look that we've been looking at it with just, oh, you know, let's wait and see and all this other stuff. We have to do something, and we have to do it yesterday.
Michael, Glenroy says we have to do something and have to do it since last year. I mean, years before then, because the numbers have been troubling now for quite some time. Your thoughts about just hearing what one family, or perhaps two, are torn apart and a community traumatized tonight?
Shanique, you know, like Glenroy said, you know, we're losing our males in our country. You know, it's clearly conflict resolution, you know, doesn't exist in a lot of homes. I don't think we teach it in the schools. But, you know, furthermore, when you really think about it, and you think of the young man, and if you really have conversations with young people around anywhere in the Bahamas today, communication is lacking. A lot of them do not know how to communicate with each other. They can't communicate at work. They can't communicate at home. You know, and I think parents sometimes, you know, factor in this. We need to teach our kids how to communicate. We need to teach them how to resolve conflict. But the only way you can do that is basically, I call it socializing your kids. Taking them out, letting them meet other individuals, persons who know how to communicate, who can sit down, have an actual conversation. You know, I sit out there and I plead to our young men. I mean, from the ages, you know, we look at our kids today, they're much smarter than what we were when we were growing up, you know, in the 80s. You know, they are on these mobile devices. You know, we need to remove our kids from these devices, get them outside, get them, socialize them with other kids, whereas though they start to learn how to resolve conflicts on the playground, things of that sort. People are so attached to these devices now. Their conflict resolution, communication don't exist. Mm-hmm. People want to only communicate by phones. Mm-hmm. I mean, you see the incident the other day at Burma with the young ladies. You know, I think there was a fight going on. You know, mm-hmm. This is what we are raising today. You know, I beg our young men, I beg the parents of young men, please socialize your kids. Get them from in front of the TVs, get them from off these handheld devices, put them out on the playground, let them learn how to resolve conflict from a young age. Because when you get 18, 19, it's all gone, it's out the window. I can only plead to our young men. I mean, please, guys, let's put down the guns, let's put down the knives, let's have a conversation.
Let cool heads prevail. I mean, no, but your head ain't better than the next person. You know, everybody, my head go for bad.
We all bleed red.
Stop, you know. I'll tell you this, gentlemen, the news is not so encouraging or inspiring from the police either. Tonight, the police are saying that the public should expect more bloodshed on the streets of the capital, as the amount of persons out on bail for murder is leading to a string of retaliatory killings, and now putting the safety of the public, you, on the line. Linton Ritchie fills us in.
Individuals on bail for murder, this is where the retaliation continue to happen. This is where this retaliation continue to happen.
Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernandez seemingly on edge, fearing a string of retaliations to come following a triple homicide that was reportedly an attempt to kill a man out on bail for murder. Instead, the man was able to escape from the gunfire. with the reported target reportedly being in the vicinity of the victims, which ultimately led to their demise. Fernandez stated his fear.
You could imagine the retaliation in there. And if we don't address that to get some of those individuals behind bars for their safety, some other people will die.
Prime Minister Philip Davis responding to Fernandez's concern.
The system could only accommodate so many. These trials are taking more than 2 and 3 months. So if you have 170 trials, that's outstanding. What does that mean? How many months? That's almost 10 years to clean it up.
However, here's the solutions the nation's chief noted his administration has put in place to address the concern.
We are looking at initiatives to try to respond to the fact that trials are not happening quick enough and the courts are overwhelmed. We have added more judges to the system. We have removed the necessity for jury trials. So we have done some things.
The top cop noted that with the men who commit these serious offenses back on the streets, it creates a war, and that opportunity should not be granted.
I feel that they should have their day in court and move swiftly. No bail. Move swiftly.
Now, if the tables turn and those hundreds of men are behind bars, authorities note the public would see a difference.
That reduce the fear of crime, and you will see crime continue to trend down. But it has.
Again, you know, that discussion, we're back out live here. That discussion really has been happening now for years, and each time it comes up, it gets more and more vexing. You heard the commissioner. He says, speed up these trials, make them happen, unclog the system. And then for an individual being accused of or charged on murder charges, they should not be granted bail. Gentlemen, this is something that our judicial system and some attorneys got highly offended about when St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, talk about the state of our judicial system. But it really bears listening to what he is talking about when you hear the Commissioner of Police, the man in charge of keeping law and order, say, listen, you know what? This might just get a little messy.
You know, it's a slippery slope when people are denied bail, when it's their constitutional right, because a man is innocent until proven guilty. At the same time, though, that aspect of securing these individuals' lives is something that needs to be taken into account. And obviously I understand where the commission is coming from. But obviously those are just steps to help in dealing with that issue. But the larger issue is, how is it that these young men are finding themselves in such criminal activities, living these dark lives where they're killing one another in the way that they're killing each other? That's the biggest issue. We need to find a way to start where it's younger and change our educational system. Do not just focus on the academics, but we also need to focus on how we treat each other. And I'm talking about a sense of national pride that needs to be instilled in the minds of our young people, where it starts from when they're in primary school and straight up until a certain age. Where we
So you're saying that there really is a need urgently now more than ever for national service that will help instill
It's national service, but it has to start from
with a main focus on the family, obviously.
If you look at the society back in Hitler's day, right?
I'm happy you brought up Hitler.
Hitler targeted young men.
That's what some of these need.
At age, no, but Hitler targeted young at age 5. He said, give me them at 5. At 5 years of age. Because you can change their mindset. But that's where we need to go in a different fashion. Obviously not using the Hitler model, but we want to use a model that will help develop these young people to see that life matters and that your contribution to life matters and the life of another person is valuable. And how we interact with each other needs to be trained and developed, and so much so that as they grow older, they'll find better ways to deal with these problems and these things that persist.
I hear the argument in terms of constitutional right. I mean, it's my constitutional right to feel safe. In a country where I feel as though I contribute, and I want to feel safe. You hear the commissioner said 176 attempted, I don't know if you call them murderers or attempted murders, they are out on bail. That's not those who are not being monitored. That's just 176 according to what I think as I heard being monitored. Come on, man, the police are doing everything in the world they could do. We now have to put it on the government. on the Chief Justice, whoever is responsible for changing the legislation, changing the laws. Make it my constitutional rights for me to feel safe.
To enjoy a good quality of life in the country of your birth.
We know we have, we've been dealing with animals here. I mean, these guys, if you want to go around and just you're shooting bullets, you're dealing with animals. They need to stay behind bars and stay there until whenever, if it's 2 years before they court date, then bring them back out to society in 2 years and put them and take them to court. But come on, man, we can't. If the chief of police is telling the country that we can expect more killings, and you can tell the person that bullet was intended for he didn't get it. Other bystanders got it. I don't know if they were also in criminal activity, but they were not the intended target. That could be me, Shanique, you, any one of us sitting down, just say we thinking we hanging out and everything cool and dandy, and some.
It is frightening, Michael, and sobering when you think of it, because it's a real and serious discussion that must happen. The Prime Minister mentioned the fact that where you gonna keep them? Your overcrowding is an issue, or space is an issue. But the thing is, are bigger institutions an issue? Are bigger institutions something that we now have to consider for the Bahamian people to bear that expense as well?
Yeah, but see, that's a part of the problem, what I'm saying. See, we need to find a way to stop that from happening where they are multiplying. I mean, we could build a bigger prison. We could, and in fact, I agree with that we should feel safe in our country. But we're not dealing with the issue. We're dealing with the symptom of the issue. The issue is, why are these young men killing each other? Why is it they feel like it's okay to pick up a knife or a gun and shoot and kill?
Again, the state of the Bahamian family. When did that become communication? The state of the Bahamian family. When you have little children having children and they care less.
Let's deal with that issue.
But you also have to look at the system as well in terms of the prison system. The prison system, because what's happening? You have someone that you think has been gone to prison for 5 years, whether it be attempted murder, whatever it may be, or 5 or 10 years, they're back on the street in well, who knows, 10 years they serve what they call a life sentence, they're back out within 7 years, and then all of a sudden we're thinking that they're reformed when they're not, because the prison only did nothing for them. I mean, first of all, keep them in jail, but try to work on them there, not let them back out in the streets, and then all of a sudden we have to now suffer the consequences because we have 176 attempted murderers or murderers, whatever they're alleged to be, just walking around free amongst us, and we don't know.
Listen, there are parishes in Jamaica, and I'm using just Jamaica as an example, where it's shut off, cordoned off then. The police cordons it off. You know why? It's too dangerous. You remember just recently, I think there was a party or something going on and an entire community was basically struck because numerous people were shot and killed that one day. I think it was a Sunday and some event was going on. We cannot allow this to continue to slip down this slippery slope. It's already gone too far. We're going to take a break and come back and look at now. We're going to shift gears and talk about some industrial issues and matters that the Davis administration is facing. We'll take this quick break and come back with more right after this.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is now City of Hope, creating one of the leading cancer care and research networks from coast to coast, providing more of what you need. More locations means more care closer to home. More specialists means more expertise. More research means more breakthroughs. More advancements means more treatment options. And more options means more hope. Call now to get more of the care you need.
Why this car break up? This car dirty and the carpet's right across from this dude. 0 down.
At Montague Motors, we offer a wide variety of vehicles for an affordable price.
Man, look at you, man. This is a brand new car. You can't talk to you no more.
Montague Motors is located on Village Road North, just before the Shirley Street stoplight.
Get ready to win Lucky Bucks. Wherever you see this taxi, flag it down.
The boy hard, beating so hard, but I will be hard with what I'm looking for my first contestant to ride in the Lucky Taxi. You walk in the taxi, you got to do the Lucky Walk, Oh, thanks. Man, thank you, sir. 85 times 2 is how much, brother? You leave with $170, brother?
I never expected to win as much as I win.
Find your light.
Very excited when the gentleman picked me to ride inside the taxi.
So if I had to choose a game that would stay, it would be Island of Taxi.
You could be next on the Island Lucky Taxi.
You wouldn't believe that number I just played, dropping quick 4. This 5K can come and clutch, my boy.
So you ain't had the mega ball on that?
You know mega ball on quick 4, my man.
Oh, okay then.
Mega Ball, now available on Quick 4. Multiply your winnings with the only 4-ball game that pays $20,000. With a draw every 30 minutes, your chances to win are mega.
I bet you I could beat you running into this long ball.
I bet you my drink will come out before yours. Well.
I bet you I could hold my breath longer.
Bet.
Hey, wait.
If it can happen, you can bet it. So why not bet with us? The Bahamas' #1 online casino, lottery, and sportsbook. We bet you won't find bigger payouts anywhere else. But
This segment of Beyond the Headlines is brought to you by EV Motors. Drive the future with brand new 2024 electric vehicles. EV Motors, powering your journey.
EBS.
We are going to continue with some hot topics right now. Industrial unrest. Unions are now antsy, and they are making it known the Davis administration could be facing industrial unrest from hundreds of unionized workers whose leader insists that the time has run out for the government to keep its word and make things right. We'll hear this from Jose Etienne and then come back and discuss.
We have decided we're going to strike. It's not a threat. It's what's going to happen.
Major industrial action seems to be imminent and could unfold as soon as this week. That's according to Trade Union Congress President O.B. Ferguson, who says a strike vote will be taken on October 30th, as he says TUC members are sick and tired of the Davis administration reportedly not holding their end of the bargain as it relates to signed agreements.
We're not going to be stupid to be supporting you, make you strong, and you fail to do the very, very basic thing that you ought to do. Just follow the agreement.
Ferguson making those frank comments as he referenced that pre-election memorandum of understanding signed by the then opposition Progressive Liberal Party and TUC members, which Ferguson says continues to be violated by the Davis administration. But how?
The government agreed that all unions should be represented on the pension board. Nothing has happened for 3 years. So what are we supposed to do? Sit down and don't do anything?
Ferguson insisting that government's negotiators on industrial agreement-related matters are also responsible for the TUC now being at odds with government.
They don't have a clue. That's the problem. If you're going to give someone a contract to administer, they must at least understand what a contract is all about. They are not conforming. They are not knowledgeable about how to bring an agreement to an end.
But on the flip side, the Davis administration has repeatedly touted itself as a labor-friendly government while refuting claims that the pre-election MOU was violated. But a pending strike stemming from the TUC's grievances conflicts with government's assertions.
The nurses got issues, serious issues. Air traffic got serious issues. Customs and immigration got serious issues. The doctors, the ones who look after you and I and this country. No insurance. How could you justify those kind of things? You can't justify not giving the doctors insurance. They have increases, right? Their industrial agreement. No industrial agreement signed for neither one. The senior doctors nor the junior doctors.
While Ferguson is not backing down, he says this could have all been avoided.
If the government is unable to pay, no problem. You meet with the union, discuss with the union when you're going to pay or when you're going to try, and you go back. See, we have members just like them.
Well, Obie Ferguson really speaking, sparing no opinion or thought, and really presenting the reason why the TUC and its various unions that come under that umbrella union are prepared to go and strike. Of course, they're being supported, Michael and Glenroy, by the Customs and Immigration Union as well.
Yeah. Add a song go, Sinead.
What is you get swing?
What do you know what he say? What do you say?
You get swing.
You get swing, right?
Glenroy, before Gino, that's good right there. Before he figure we owe him some.
You have a memorandum of understanding with a opposition at the time, and I've heard the guy who bought the property on PI, I think for where Royal Caribbean is going. He said he spoke to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister assured him before they was in government that he'll have that sorted out, and his land that he was granted him would be given back to him.
Mm-hmm.
And today I think Royal Caribbean is about to start breaking ground. So I don't know what they expect.
Wow. So you're saying the unions just swallowed it all because they wanted to.
A promise is a comfort of food. I mean, come on, we know at the end of the day, a lot of politicians, they go and they overpromise, underdeliver, and it seems as though that's what's happened here. The government is doing a lot of traveling, they're doing a lot of spending. We have spoken on this show over and over about how do you cut back on spending in order to basically meet your bills and things that you are obligated to do. It seems as though they are obligated to the unions in terms of whatever they agree to, but they are too busy spending the people's money. We have heard nothing about how are we going to start cutting back on savings and things of that sort in these different ministries and all throughout the government. Nothing's happening. All we're hearing is this is going up, more taxes being applied on the backs of the people. I mean, I know one thing. I tell people I can't take another tax. I can't take it. Now, if y'all can take, y'all tell me, how you do it, because the Bahamian people, just straight down on VAT on the bread basket items, people have been begging, please remove that. Let us get back to where we can at least go in there and feel some type of be getting something out of the food store. But you go in the food store, you buy 5 items. By the time you finish paying for whatever the items cost in the VAT, God, now you're wondering what I buy. I mean, I met in a food store the other day. I think
the nation hears you and agrees with you. We all shop the same way.
It's saddening, I mean, and the unions, the reality is a lot of these union fellas find themselves in bed with politicians because they don't know, they're always looking for these sweet deals for themselves or so-called their members, right? And then when you look at some of these same union fellas, they end up on some of these boards and all this other stuff. It's, you cannot serve two masters. Either you serve your union members or you serve the government. And the reality of it is, in order for you to have a more straightened, strong voice, you have to stand in your lane. Obviously, when you are looking at the promises being made, you also have to look at the realities of the country and the situations that the country face. If the government was to go ahead and give all these unions these demands, obviously it's going to come out of taxpayers' coffers. And so right now, they have gotten what they look for in a sense because, the good book says confidence in a faithful man in a time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint. And so that's right now where we are in this country. Many people are suffering. I'm talking about suffering from the food store, suffering from the light bill, suffering from every area of their lives.
The working poor has increased.
It's all for me, baby. This is the kind of place that we're living in now.
And whilst the taxes are increasing, we see deals being signed, and family members are benefiting from these deals within the government. What's happening in this country?
All for me, baby. We are not our brother's keepers anymore. We are not looking out for our neighbors. Everybody's just all for me. Everybody want to fart in their pockets and say, hey, look at me. I look good, hey. I mean, this is what, we talk about crime in society. This is what we're doing it to ourselves. We're allowing politicians and all, we are doing this to ourselves. We continue to put back in the same, basically, over and over, the same people, they say they promise us this, they promise us that. And then look at this. Look at the unions. I don't know if they're owed whatever it is that they what was agreed to. Is it something either back pay or something or that sort? But
A lot of the issues have been outstanding. A lot of the issues in many of the unions have been outstanding for years. And this is why they agreed to the MOU to say, listen, wonderful, excellent, you're going to now come in and address it.
But Shanique,
So
as a government, how could you put more taxes on top of the people? The same people who are owed money. They're owed money to them, but you continue to tax them, but you can't give them what's actually belongs to them, that they've been working for the past, I don't know, it's 10, 15 years, and you can't say, let me sort this out first, because at the end of the day, we know inflation is real. We need, you can barely make your rent and make your payments, and there's light bills and things that I saw, because all of those are just soaring. But let me try meet you halfway, so at least maybe the following year, budget year, we can put some more in. But not 3 years go by and nothing.
You get swing.
Listen, we'll see what the outcome is tomorrow when that strike vote. That other unions, of course, are also standing alongside the TUC and saying that they've already agreed to it, and obviously will just follow the lead of the TUC. That union, of course, is the Immigration and Customs Union, President Deron Brooks, who is saying exactly the same thing. Gentlemen, of course, hey, listen. We have a lot to talk about as we continue to move forward, quite frankly. And Bahamians, the inflation, the cost of living. You mentioned going to the food store and picking up a handful of items and wondering what the dickens the cash is saying, because you were wondering, Mom, you miss it.
Shanique, corruption caused this problem in this country. Corruption has caused this problem in this country. Because of the corrupt practices of some of our politicians and some people who are benefiting from it, we find ourselves having to pay VAT, which was normally what we were paying. We are finding ourselves paying all these exorbitant prices and services that we're getting. It's because of corruption. And that's why we must not just look and settle ourselves for a bowl of porridge. We have to recognize that whenever we participate in corrupt behaviors, we are impacting the generations behind us. And right now, the children coming up, they can't even afford a doggone piece of land and house. They can't afford it. They're priced out of the market. There's no way possible that young people could afford it. And this is where we are in this country.
Well, there's sometimes, I think there's hidden taxes that we just don't know about. We feel it in our pockets, but there's some hidden taxes I feel as though we don't know about that's working in the background. And every time we go to that cash register, be like, damn, this was like, what happened?
No, the cash register is puzzling. That's the most puzzling thing in the country.
That's what I'm saying. It got to be a hit, because I know VAT hasn't changed, but that's why I said it has to be a hidden tax. Either the vendors are being taxed more and they aren't saying anything because they're just passing it on to us, which I'm pretty sure it is, but it's something that's happening, because that cash register, me, every time I go there, it doesn't make sense.
Ghost tax.
And I'm sure the Bahamian people, when y'all go to that cash register, it doesn't make sense to y'all. Every week, it feels as though the same items don't pick up, but the price change.
Boy, I tell you. Listen, gentlemen, I thank you both very much. Again, this is really the people's business. This is the thing that matters to you most. How are you living? Can you even afford to step out of your present reality to aspire to something more? Can you afford that? It shouldn't just happen, Glenroy, either. Laws were passed years ago that made land so out of our reach, out of the reach of the majority of Bahamians, that has been unfair now for decades. It's been the practice. We got to address all of that, quite frankly. I thank you both very much. Of course, Linton Ritchie at the top of tonight's show. Thank you very much, Michael Turnquest, Glenroy Pratt. Glenroy, you will stick around, because when we come back, we're going to shift gears. We're going to get into some U.S. elections. You know, we watch that as well, because what happens there affects here. And so we're backward after this break. Stay close.
Bahamas, are you ready? Keep the vibe alive. Music group, along with Alpha Sounds, present the best of the best. Rake and Scrape Explosion Reloaded. This is the biggest one-day all-Bahamian concert of the year. Featuring KB, D-Mac, Abby, Mama D, Fan Sean, Shine 242, The Falcon, and more. Mark your calendars. It's going down November the 2nd at Super Club Brazos Ground. Tickets now available at BahamasEtickets.com or both Beauty Shack locations. General admission $60. VIP, Skybox, and Skypods also available. For more info, call 394-0819 or email keepthevibealive242@gmail.com. It's Experience the magic once again with more legends for one night only. Come party with us November 2nd at Best of the Best. Rake and Scrape Explosion Reloaded.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu. We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madera Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you.
So you want a space, but not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
This segment of Beyond the Headlines is brought to you by the Best of the Best Rake and Scrape Reloaded on November 2nd at Breezes.
Well, it's 1 week until America casts its vote, deciding who will be the next president, whether they will vote for now Vice President Kamala Harris to become the next president of the United States, or former President Donald Trump, the Republican candidate, to become the next president of the United States. Regardless of who they vote for, what happens, it certainly impacts us. We know that. There's a common saying here: when America catches cold, the Bahamas sneezes, because a lot of the policies that any government, any administration in the United States passes and certainly pursues has an impact, or have an impact, on the Bahamian way of life, particularly our economy. It's also a common belief that the Bahamas economy performs better during a Republican administration. Well, it's just so much, a lot's going on. Before we get into tonight's discussion, though, we wanted to start on the premise of religion, something that is hugely important to Bahamians and, surprisingly, also a number of Americans. But one gentleman said, listen, perhaps, these Republicans are a little swayed and their premise isn't quite as solid as they would think when it comes to this religion thing and this as the Republicans present it. Take a look, and then we'll come back and discuss.
I got to tell you that absolutely nothing disappoints me more than what I'm about to talk about right now. The other day I made a video about Latino voters and how I don't think it's in their best interest to vote for Donald Trump, but I'm not Latino, so I'm not a Latino voter. I'll tell you what I am, though. I am a Christian, which makes me a Christian voter. And absolutely no group of people over the last 10 years has been more disappointing than my fellow Christians. You continue to backflip over yourselves and twist and tie yourselves into knots to justify and rationalize your continued support of this absolutely immoral and depraved man as the leader of your supposedly moral movement. And then you have the audacity when we ask, well, how can you support him? You'll say, well, I'm not voting for a moral leader, but I'm voting for him because his policies align with my Christian values. Okay, so wait. You are voting for a moral movement, just not one led by a moral leader. When you figure out how that actually makes any sense whatsoever, please let the rest of us know. And you seem shocked to learn that congregations across the country are dwindling in size, and you can't understand why people who aren't currently part of the Christian faith want absolutely nothing to do with what you say you have to offer. I'll tell you why. It's because your words, your actions, scripture, and the teachings of Jesus don't align. Not even a little. Donald Trump is very literally the anti-Beatitudes. He mocks the weak while he himself is weak. But you'll turn to the Bible and cherry pick stories like Saul's conversion to Paul and say, well, look, all things work together for good through Christ, and God can take a bad man and do good things. You did not learn what you should have learned from the story of Paul, because what you're doing is actually voting for Saul and hoping that somehow, somewhere along the way, he becomes Paul. And you have this distorted, perverted image of, it's the fusion of church and state. It's Jesus Christ flanked by Donald Trump riding in on war eagles, brandishing AR-15s and wearing American flag headbands. Like, cha-ching, praise Jesus, glory be to God, pass the ammunition. It is insane. And to the pastors out there, you are failing your flocks. When you see that a member of your congregation has a Facebook picture of themselves, one wearing a shirt that says, I love Jesus, and another picture wearing a shirt that says, if you want to make something electric, start with the border wall, the only thing you should say to them the next time you see them is, when can we meet? I would like to sit down with you and the Word of God and talk about your faith and your witness. Yes, this perversion shows itself best when it comes to the current Christians look at immigration. And you seem to forget, pastors, that all the men that you talk about on Sunday morning, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, at some point, they were all immigrants, refugees, or in exile. I wonder if you and your congregation were a small village in the Promised Land and Moses and the tribes.
Well, there you have it. And he hit really on many of the issues that are, I guess, going to be the deciding factors for this election in the United States. The moral question, the biggest elephant in the room in terms of what many middle America, right-wing America, Christian America, what they're focusing on. And they're saying, and what he is saying is that, listen, don't buy into the Republican sort of PR about all of this, like, hey, yeah, we for the church, we for the Bible beliefs, because here is a moral movement that they're rightly pushing for, being led by an immoral man. Is that how it should be looked at? Well, let's just jump right in right there. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, Pastor Prophetess Patrice Smith and Glenroy Pratt. Again, it's good to have you both, Glenroy. Thanks for sticking around. You all watched that video, you saw it, you had time to contemplate it and perhaps digest some of what he was saying, that gentleman there. Your thoughts on this whole moral argument, which is really dividing America?
Obviously, there are some policies that Republicans, I wouldn't say Trump, but there are some Republican policies that I may support as a Bahamian, right? But there's also some Democratic policies that I probably would not support, being, my personal beliefs and all that, right? But understand this point. If a young man comes to my door to date my daughter, his friends tell me he's been to jail or he's been accused of raping women or inappropriately touching women. If his friends tell me this, if his friends tell me that quite a few of his other friends have been to jail already, and I know that to be the case. I know that also he has ways of speaking down to people. He mocks those people who are, crippled. He talks bad about other countries, calling them asshole countries and all this other stuff. If I know all these things, right? He sleeps with prostitutes, right? If I know all these things about an individual, you think I would want my daughter to date that young man? No. So why would I support somebody who has been publicly known to have done all of these things in the same fashion that the current running person in the United States is being accused of? If we want to follow what the scripture speaks about, it says, hey, by their fruits you should know them. And if these fruits have been demonstrated to you, why are you turning a blind eye to them? That doesn't mean that Kamala is any better. But it tells you that based on what you currently see, if somebody tells you who they are, they say often believe them.
What if those fruits, like, for example, and sometimes, an avocado tree does so incredible one season and the next season it doesn't. So therefore, you only could think about the fruits that tree bore some years ago.
See, consistency is what you look at. When 5 young black men were accused of raping a female woman inside town in New York, they were found to be innocent. And yet you have not apologized for that. You have not apologized. These young men went to prison and spent half of their lives in jail, and you have not apologized. In fact, just recently, you still came out and tried to disparage them and make them look like they were guilty of what they was already freed on. And so when I look at all these things and the consistency of pulling down people and saying negative things and just continue berating people and all that stuff, it's about character. When I was growing up, my parents taught me how to be respectful, have manners, show respect. But all those things are out the window. It seems as if that's what a lot of Bahamians discussion have accepted. And that is, some people look at it and say, hey, he's good for the economy. It's just like saying, hey, if you look at the American Gangster movie with the drug dealer, right? He was good for the community. He was basically buying ham and turkey and giving it away. But yet at the same time, killing people in the nighttime, killing sons and daughters. But people accepted that because why? He was giving them something. So
yeah, but could I jump in?
Yes, jump in, because Glenroy spoke for
Glenroy says, and being very disingenuous with it. And so let me say something.
I'm being disingenuous?
Yeah.
You speak, I'll let you speak.
Because, you're speaking very biasly.
I'm speaking what is out there. Nothing like that isn't out there.
He's speaking on where he stands.
He's speaking like a typical supporter of the Democratic Party. Let me just say something. Let me say something, and let's just be real about it, like Kamala says all the time. Let's be very clear about this. You are not voting for Jesus Christ, because if you were, then both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris would fail the test. Simply because, and this is why I'm saying you're not being totally unbiased. Because two things, I'm going to refute two things that you said, because you're talking about the character of Donald Trump. But yet you are not comparing that with the character of Kamala Harris. Now, Kamala Harris, number one, it is alleged, I'm only saying it is alleged, but we all know that Kamala Harris interfered with a marriage, went into a marriage, broke up a marriage, sweethearted a man so that she can get an advantage in her career. This same Kamala Harris, I'm not getting your point because you're talking about morals. This same Kamala Harris has the record in California for jailing the most black men. You can shake your head as much as you want to. Research it and you'll find out it's the truth. Let me finish. The most black men in California's history or recent history was jailed under the leadership of Kamala Harris as the AG and the DA. And some of these black men in particular were jailed for things as simple as, and I'm not trying to say something that they shouldn't have it, or that they should have it, but something as simple as having a certain amount of joints, marijuana. So it seems as if then she was trying to lead, I'm going to use this word very loosely, a genocide against black men. It causes me to think then, what does she have against black men? Because we all know that she married a white man. This same Kamala Harris, I'm going to get up your alley right now. No, let me finish my point. This same Kamala Harris was tapped to be and reported to be and is one of the most left-leaning candidates in the former presidential party campaign, which was held in 2020 when Joe Biden won it. This woman did not win one vote because she was leaning too much to the left. Now, what do I mean by that? She was leaning too much to the left in that she totally supported abortion with no bounds. Matter of fact, they just asked her the other day in the CNN town hall whether she believes in restrictions on abortion. She avoided the question and started answering something else as if she didn't understand the question. And so therefore, because she did not give a yes or no answer, we can now assume that Kamala Harris believes in late-term abortion. You're talking about morals, that's why I'm going there with you. This same Kamala Harris picked a running mate who, my God, he masters in lies. If you want to say that Donald Trump lies, you need to look at Tim Walz's record. This particular man who has used the excuse that he doesn't lie, he just misspeaks. That in itself is a lie. And so therefore she picked her running mate, but then of course, birds of a feather flock together. And so she picked her running mate.
I'm glad you noticed that.
Come on now. She picked her running mate who has passed legislation in Minnesota for the elementary boys to have tampons deposited in their bathroom. This is elementary school boys. This is the vice president campaign, or this is the vice presidential candidate that is running. The same Kamala Harris, and she's trying to throw it off by saying Trump passed the law. This same Kamala Harris said, though, when she was campaigning, that she believes in transgender surgery for men who are in prison that wants to become women. The same, I'm talking about, I'm going up your alley because you're talking about morals. The same Kamala Harris is the one who said that they will look at reforms to close the border. Yet for 3.5 years, they allowed almost 20 million illegal immigrants to break the law into the United States by coming through the border. The same Kamala Harris now is speaking against Trump, even though the Republicans, when Trump was president, they had a Democratic House and Senate, and they fought against the border wall. The same Kamala Harris is now saying that they will look to secure the country by completing the border wall. This is the same Kamala Harris.
So listen.
Kamala Harris. So this is
So
a woman who lies.
you laid your foundation.
I'm going up there with him.
You laid it.
You Pandora box.
You laid it, and I think convincingly so. But listen, before we run out of time,
let me mention one more thing.
Listen to me. You and Glenroy can't go back and forth on this one point.
The same Kamala Harris is running as her main agenda, not Donald Trump. Because again, I said we are not we're not voting for Jesus Christ. Because if we was, ain't none of these politicians in the Bahamas would get elected. On the PLP side and the FNM side. Now, you just admitted to me that you are an FNM. I'm sure that you are aware that there are some very unscrupulous men and women in the Free National Movement. But yet he votes for them. So this is the point I'm trying to make. Let's go back to the U.S. I don't want you to see, and that's why I say when you discuss, you got to discuss unbiasedly. And so let me finish. You can't just call Brave Davis a crook. You got to go to the FNM too.
Nobody called Brave Davis a crook. Nobody did.
Nobody called Brave Davis a crook.
Wait a minute. Allegedly. No. His name never came up in this discussion.
Brave Davis.
Allegedly.
Talking loud.
Wait a minute.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
I said let me speak.
Yes, go ahead.
Brave Davis or Michael Pintard's name, PLP or FNM, was not brought up in this segment.
I'm not talking about the television.
Wait a minute. This is not their discussion. No, whatever.
I'm not talking about the television.
No, whatever. I didn't hear it during the break either, but leave it.
I'm talking about our private conversations. But can I finish?
No. Leave it alone.
Okay.
Let us now look, though. Let's shift, because you see, before I know it, y'all speak in like 10 minutes each.
Yes.
For one thought.
Let me finish.
No.
All right. I thought you wanted me to finish my point.
No. All them points you raised. You have raised several points. Wait, no. Wait a minute. No.
Okay.
Let us shift.
All right. Go ahead.
Then to what matters most to the Bahamas of what happens in America a week from today. Now, we could pick this up because perhaps next Tuesday evening, we probably could even have a show as we kind of watch them start to see some of their results come in. But let's just talk about what do you each think is the most important issue that Bahamians ought to pay attention to? Well, outside of the moral debate and discussion, and we saw what took place, I think this last year and earlier this year about what was being pushed. Outside of that, I think the economy, because Americans are screaming for that, inflation and the rest of it. So therefore, what matters most to Bahamians that America gets right when it comes to that?
So let's be clear on some of the things. Talking loud doesn't mean that you're actually speaking fast. I just want to be clear on that.
Wait a minute. Glenroy and Patrice, I will wrap the show up tonight if you all... Wait a minute. I am very capable of speaking. And I get paid to do so.
Okay.
So therefore, I'm asking you both to listen to me. We're not going to go back there. You each laid a wonderful foundation on the moral argument. And it was in response to the video. Now I'm talking about truly, we talk about bread and butter and what happens in this nation and the fact that it's important because we are chafing from inflation, the majority of Bahamians. Americans too are screaming. So I'm saying when it comes to the issues that matter most, now we go and we're shifting economy. That is extremely important.
Yes.
What are we looking at?
See, first of all, in order to understand how inflationary challenges escalated, you have to understand the origin of such, right? One of the challenges that caused the inflationary situation was obviously the pandemic. And the fact is, the president at the time was Donald Trump.
That was not the only
Because
challenge.
of the fact that he mishandled the pandemic, that also created a ripple effect into the economic challenges that the world has faced in this region. Let's not play around with that fact. That's a reality.
Really? Not,
Yes,
not the fact,
because
not
what
the
happened
fact that
was-
you will
because-
respond, you will respond,
because-
but not the fact, Glenroy, that the whole world came to a
No,
standstill?
no. I didn't say the world came to a standstill.
No, it did.
I said, well, understand, the world came to a standstill because of the economic challenges.
Right.
But because of the fact that it was mishandled from the American perspective,
Not
it
necessarily.
caused a ripple effect in this region. Understand by that.
After 3.5
what ended up
years,
happening was you had
it's
all
still
these,
rippling
you had
after
all
3.5
these.
years?
That's the far-reaching impact of
come on now.
indecision. When those indecisions were not, when those decisions were not made, when they should have been made to cordon the border and do all these other things, it had a ripple effect. We had the increase in all the shipping situation. Things were stacked up and things were not going out the way they were supposed to have gone out. And then you had a great demand and all this other stuff. So that is not the only factor as well to keep in mind.
Definitely
But that
not.
was also a part of the challenges that we face. Now, there's this an illusion that whenever Republicans in power, that the Bahamian economy does well.
That's true.
That's not always the case. The only
most
reason that
cases.
is the case in the optic perspective is because of the fact that the Republicans
Makes
are not
monies.
as hard on their tax. On their taxation as much as it is the Democrats. The Democrats press more on people paying their taxes, and that's why these havens and stuff like that gets heavily taxed. The Republicans, on the other hand, they are the ones who actually put their monies in these tax havens in order to protect their monies because they are a lot of the business people who are generating revenue and all this other stuff. So, but the fact is that doesn't mean that because they do that, that means that they are good for the Bahamas. One of the challenges that we have to recognize in this whole situation is when you talk about this whole situation, right? And we're not just talking economics. We're talking about the fact that we got children in school in America, right? Whenever you have, in the last administration under Donald Trump, there's racial tension in America escalated, right? We have our children in schools in America, and so that's causing a challenge for some of these students now. When you have all this rhetoric that is being spewed, all this talk about you go back to where you come from and all this other stuff, and all this type of hatred-speaking languages.
I don't recall
creates
seeing, I don't,
tension.
Glenroy, one second please, Patricia. Glenroy, I don't remember seeing that happening in the U.S. I know,
What?
I know
No,
it's
what?
that you go back to where you come from. I know that's happening in certain parts of the UK and Canada.
No,
I've not seen it. I've not seen it this year.
No. See, you haven't seen it under Biden as much as you would have seen it under Trump. Keep in mind.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it under.
See, keep in mind.
I don't remember
see,
it under Trump.
See, what's happening right now in different parts of the world, in Europe, obviously, is the fact that there's this perception that people are coming in, and that is in fact true.
It is true.
They're coming in and they're putting a burden on the economy. In the same vein, the Haitians have been allowed into America, and the statement is being made that they're putting a burden on certain parts of the country.
Not just
That they have the
Haitians,
Mexicans
not just
coming in.
Haitians.
I'm not
More than
finished.
Haitians.
Even more
They
so
talk
the
about the
Mexicans.
Mexicans coming into the country, and they're talking about how it's putting a burden on the economic vitality
But that
of
is
America.
indeed true.
But understand the challenges, though. That also has an impact. But what I'm saying is when you have a rhetoric, if you look at a movie called Gangs of New York,
You have to let Patrice
some
get
of
in
the
now.
same, some of the same
Man, you be
statements.
talking long, man.
Listen to talking. Some of the, Lord of mercy. Some of the same and loud. Right? But anyway,
She can't.
but-
She can't talk.
but at the end of the day, what I'm
gotta give me
saying
enough time to talk now.
is, but at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that
Glenroy, wrap that up.
as we look at this whole situation in America, whatever racial tensions and whatever kind of situation transpires in that country, it's going to be a ripple effect in this country.
It is. It is. Patrice, go ahead.
The thing about it is and this is the main point I want to make. I think what's happening is that Glenroy.
Wow, she got it right.
Yeah. Glenroy and others are looking at politics as if it's some tiptoeing through the tulips. Politics has its ups and downs. Politics has its ins and outs. You are not necessarily going to all the time like the politician. But I always say that, listen, I'm not voting for the politician, I'm voting for the policy. I went to the United States a few months ago and I was shocked at the prices in Walmart. Now, when you see Walmart increasing, then you gotta really raise your eyebrow there. I'm a person that likes to drink oat milk and almond milk. I could not believe that the price of almond milk in Walmart is the same as it is over here in the Bahamas. And so therefore, just to review the point, yes, I know that COVID came, and of course, to navigate through that was a little difficult for President Donald Trump and his administration. But Joe Biden had 3.5 years to rectify that. What Joe Biden did was brought in what he called the American Rescue Plan. And the American Rescue Plan had embedded in it many unnecessary things, such as the EV mandate, such as the greenhouse mandate, such as different things that the progressive limb or progressive arm of the Democratic Party wanted them to institute. And so therefore, let me finish, therefore, it was incorporated in the American Rescue Plan.
Elon Musk wants to
Yes, but let me finish.
Elon Musk.
It is a fact. See, I didn't interrupt too much when you're talking.
You interrupted a lot. Finish. Wrap it up,
It is a fact that the American Rescue Plan is what caused the inflation in the United States.
I hear you, Justin.
Under the leadership of Joe Biden and incompetent Kamala Harris,
listen to me.
who's now asking for another 4 years to be massively incompetent.
Thank you, Patrice
We cannot
Smith.
allow it.
Thank you, Patrice Smith. You have the last word. Listen to me. I gotta bring the two of y'all back. We gonna have a watch party. Give me something to drink. That's what Orca, you gonna have to excuse me because I gonna need something to drink for the two of them. Listen, thank you all so much. I thank Linton Richie at the top of tonight's show, of course, Glenroy Pratt and Michael Turnquest. And in this segment, Jesus. Whew, Prophetess Patrice Smith and Glenroy Pratt. Thank you all so much. And I want to thank all of you this evening. I drink in. Thank you all so much for tuning in this evening. We certainly enjoyed having you along. And we look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening for the entire Beyond the Headlines team. I'm Shanique Miller, making a great evening, everyone.
Good evening, everyone.